It's safe to say that Sonic hasn't been at his best ever since making the jump to 3D, but will the Blue Blur's latest adventure finally break the curse that has plagued the franchise since the early 2000s? You're watching LGN, and this is our review of Sonic Frontiers. Speed is a staple in the Sonic series. A good Sonic game provides a satisfying and enjoyable sense of speed. However, in the case of Sonic Frontiers, Sega is back at it again, making Sonic as slow as possible. His top speed is much more akin to a game such as Mario rather than Sonic. Tilting the analog stick does nothing more than make Sonic perform a slow jog with no other way of gaining higher speeds. Unfortunately, Sonic Frontiers lacks the speed that everyone desires from a Sonic game. Sonic Frontiers has also implemented a combat system, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news again, but the combat in Sonic Frontiers is nothing more than mashing the attack button a couple of times and jumping on enemies. You see an enemy, you mash the square button a few times, and then you're done. It's boring, slow, and tedious. Early in the game, you unlock an ability that allows you to draw circles on the ground. This allows you to deal damage to enemies and do some puzzles. I actually don't mind the puzzles in this game. In fact, I wish they were a bit easier at times, but it's a nice way to take a break from walking around the open world. Speaking of the open worlds, they're big piles of garbage. You can just look at these open worlds and tell that Sega had no clue what they were doing. For one, they look far too realistic to be in a Sonic game, and for two, there's just way too much going on in them. It's just not very pleasant on the eyes. The game also has these cyber worlds that try to emulate the gameplay of previous 3D Sonic games. I don't think I'm alone when I say that these are just way too difficult. All of them last way too long and just overstay their welcome. What would have been cool is if all of the cyber worlds were 2D, because the 2D portions gave me a reminder of how good Sonic used to be in the past. But what we're stuck with now is this 3D garbage that just isn't really fun. Where Sonic Frontiers faults the most is in the story. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to put a fully fleshed out and well-written plot in a game about talking animals, but here we are. This game just takes itself way too seriously, and it's honestly kind of fun to laugh at, but it's still pretty terrible. Stories in previous games like Sonic Colors and Sonic in the Lost World fit Sonic's character just right if you ask me. The tone in Sonic Frontiers is just way too dark, and I can't see anyone enjoying this. If there's one thing I can give Frontiers credit for, it's the music. In fact, I think it's almost too good. Like, when I'm trying to defeat a difficult boss, I don't want this loud heavy metal blasting my ears. It just becomes a distraction at that point. This applies to the open world segments as well. I would much prefer if there would be no music at all just so I can take in the scenery. So there you have it. Sonic Frontiers is another failed attempt at Sega trying to figure out what to do with the Sonic series. It's a shame too, because I feel like Sonic finally found his footing in games like Sonic 4. So it just disappoints me to see Sega putting out games that no one asked for. Anyway, this is going to wrap it up for this review. Thanks for tuning into LGN, and make sure to check out our other reviews linked in the description box down below.